Oh, you? Welcome back. It's been a minute. So, as you can see, this little guy has made it into the garage. Again, I guess. Well, that's what happens when you have a car. It's almost 40 years old. So, the problem I've been having is, and I don't know if anybody else has had this issue, but maybe this will help you out. I'll start the car, and like normal, the thing goes to, what, 1200 or so for a couple seconds, and then it slowly drops its, it'll drop its RPM down, like it's supposed to, as it's warming up. Especially once it gets warm, the thing will get down to, what, 800 or so, and it'll stay there, and it'll run just fine. Car runs great, good throttle response, all that kind of good stuff. Lately, you'll start the car, it'll start up, go to like 1200, come down, and as it's coming down, it'll go down to like, 200 and feel like it's going to die. Then all of a sudden, I don't know if it's the ECU is kicking in and going, oh, wait a minute, this ain't right. It'll kick it up to about 1500 and stay there, and it won't drop. So I'm like, okay, well, that seems a little odd. So one day I started it when it was almost dark out, and of course my wonderful exhaust manifolds that are wrapped by the previous owner, or a previous owner, on both sides. You could see them getting cherry red, both sides. So I knew something was going on, total engine. It wasn't like it was one bank, something like that. Okay, well, that's not good. So that's a good way to crack a manifold. I think that one's already cracked anyway, but that's a whole different story. So it's like, okay, we're running super lean. Vacuum leak possibly? Probably. So let's, actually somewhere around here, let's walk around the disaster that's the garage here. And in a box, oh yeah. Let's close this. I got this little guy. And this thing was fairly inexpensive. I should say super inexpensive, actually. Let's go right here. And you can get these things super cheap. Super cheap, I want to say. This little guy. This little smoke tester. Little guy, right? So it's nothing like your big ones, because I was going to buy a good full-size smoke tester and then realized, well, dropping $1,000 right now is just not a good idea. So I bought this little guy, and it comes with everything you need, some smoke fluid and all that kind of stuff. So I hooked that up to, actually it's still disconnected right here. I plugged it into that guy and just let it sit for a good 3 minutes maybe, and then all of a sudden, out of the bottom of this nightmare, we start seeing it pour out from under here, which I've already taken the liberty of taking this off. There's the nuts. So, isn't that cool? Look how rusty those are. I'll show you how I got those off here in a minute. So let's just rip this bad boy off of here, because these things are just a disaster for Fiero owners. But notice how the washer, the restrictor washer, is not in place. So whoever, it's obviously not an original, had replaced it before, didn't do it right. But the smoke was coming out of these holes. Just pouring out of them, which is weird, because if I put a vacuum line on this, it will open the valve. So it must just be a really small, I don't want to say it was pouring out, but I mean, it was, you could see it, which I probably should have videoed that. That would have really helped. But it was coming out of there. So I'm like, okay, well, there's a vacuum leak. This was also disconnected out of the air intake tube, but I'm pretty sure that that's not going to cause a high idle, since that's just part of the PCV system, which is something totally different. So, but we'll get that plugged back in. So I popped this off last night, and of course these two nuts that are on there, these looked like they were, permanent piece of the studs. So instead of even trying to attempt those, of course I soaked them for about a day or so. I grabbed the mini-ductor, because there is no way that I was going to get those off without snapping the studs. So if you can get yourself one of these, I think they even make way less expensive versions now, smaller versions that give you the electrodes. You just put those in there. You'll wrap these coils around the nuts without touching anything else. Just put them on the nut and then pull the trigger, and you hold it for maybe 30 seconds, maybe a minute at absolute most. You'll see this nut get cherry red. It was brighter than this intake. Pull the mini-ductor off, grab a wrench, 1/2 inch is what mine was. These are the original nuts, I assume they are. I grabbed a wrench, put it on there, and they cracked right loose. They popped right off, no issues. It's the only way to do it without putting a torch on there, which I didn't want to, put heat everywhere else. So it concentrates the heat just to the nut that you're putting it on. So it was awesome. And they popped right off. But I'm thinking, okay, so back to the wonderful idle issue. And you'll see I got a screwdriver jammed in there to keep my light off. so that it doesn't kill the battery that I decided to throw a charger on just to maintain anyway while it was in here. So, but yeah, it would idle really high, and it would stay that way. I don't know why. I'm assuming it was because of that intake leak, or that vacuum leak, which will cause a lean condition. No lean code, though, which was kind of interesting. So I bought another EGR valve. If you can see the part number, there it is. It's a standard, brand new. Comes with all the restrictor washers, which I'm going to try to figure out which one goes on a 2.8, just in case I need it. I am going to pull this this plenum off here sometime soon. I want to get all this corrosion stripped and redone. Plus, I got a broken bolt right there, which is real fun to get these bolts out. If they haven't ever been taken out, which I don't know if these ever have been, but that one did not want to come out. I barely even touched it and it snapped. All the rest of them cracked loose with no problem. I do have a full set of new bolts that I'll put in there, but I got to get that one out, obviously, first. But I was going to take this off, and my original plan was to replace all of these, kind of hard to see them, but all of these nylon lines that some of them have put hoses on already because they've been cracking and breaking since I've had the car. You know, replace every single one of those with one of the Fiero store kits that has the metal lines. So when I pull the plenum off, I'll do that. And also, just in case, we've got 6 new injectors because I don't know how old these are. I'm assuming they're original. And this thing did have nasty fuel in it when I got the car. So at worst case scenario, I've got injectors. If I don't need them, we'll save them. I might even just have these sent off and flow tested just to see how they're doing, just to make sure they're okay. I'll ohm test all of them too to make sure they're not like shorted internally or anything like that, which I don't think they are, because the car actually runs pretty smooth when it's not, you know, starving for fuel, I guess. I also have a new fuel pump I'm going to put in this thing just for peace of mind. But yeah, I want to replace every one of these vacuum lines because most of them run under this plenum. They all come kind of from over there on under and then back, and you know, one of them's here for the EGR valve. You got one there, which I believe that one goes to the regulator. There's a couple over there for EGR solenoid. There's just vacuum lines all over this thing, but they're all hidden. And of course they're nylons. If you breathe on them wrong, they snap. But that's where we're at right now. So let me get this cleaned up. I want to get the surface nice and clean. I might even, maybe I'll break out the mini-ductor and put it on one of these nuts just to give you an idea. Because those look pretty bad too. And the chances of those coming off are going to be, you know, next to zero without snapping studs. And I don't really want to be snapping studs. But I can put the mini-ductor on that to at least give you an idea of how it works. Put them on those. I'm not taking this off right now, but I will have to take this off because it's bolted to the bottom of the plenum here. So when that all comes off, obviously that's got to come off too. So I'll do that. Let's get this cleaned up though, and I'll grab the mini-ductor and just at least show you how it works in case you're thinking about getting one. And you know, how hard is it to work? Does it actually do what they say it does? Well, I'll show you. So let's do that, and let's check it out. All right, here we go. Oh, well, you're going to see this now. Now, that is not supposed to look like that. That's what happens when it gets abused. But we'll just kind of pretend that that's not there right now. So you wrap that on there. Give it a little triggerage. And right now, there's obviously no flame, no fuel, nothing like that. It's just a magnetic current. Oh, I could already see a little bit of smoke. It's not red yet, though. But it will get there. There you go. Now you can totally see it. It's not so much on the nut as it is more on the stud. I don't really want the stud. All right, let me set this down. Okay, it's cooled down a little bit. Let's make an attempt. Yeah, look at that. Cracked it right loose. Huh? Just that easy. I'm not going to take it completely off because I don't think I have another gasket right now. Although that seems to be a little loose to me. Oh, that's because of the studs, dummy. Okay, so I might pull both of these off and just replace the nuts anyway because they are looking a little crunchy. I'd like to put stainless or brass nuts on this. Brass would probably be the best, but finding those today could be a little tricky. So I may just have to put it back together until I can find some. But yeah, that's how the mini-ductor works. Really not that bad. Now, let me clean off the surface. All right, now that's all cleaned off. That took a good 30 seconds. Got it back down to bare metal. So the next issue we have is cleaning up my mess, of course. is here's the washer. That is supposed to be installed there, and you kind of stake it in from around the outside to hold it in. I'm going to assume that's the right size washer. Of course, there's no way for me to know that now because the original EGR valve is long gone and they didn't write the OEM number on it, which I don't have to write on there either. So, yay me. So let's grab the new valve here. See what we got. We got some new valve and box. We got a mess of stuff I got to clean up. That I'll get around to here in a minute. What else we got in this box? We got the washers. Imagine that. So the reason they do this is so that they don't have that many different versions of that depending on what car it's actually going on. So like GM, I should say the aftermarket more so than GM, get this out of the bag with one hand's fine. We'll build, I don't know, 30 versions of this same valve. They all look basically the same. They bolt on the same bolt pattern. They have the same two openings. And a vacuum port, of course. Sometimes it's a clock different, but other than that, they're exactly the same. I would show you, I don't even think you can see it on this car because the crossfire intake is a little bit, yeah, you can't see it on there. Otherwise, I would have shown you on that one. So the EGR valve, they all look very similar, but the flow rates are going to need to be different. So they restricted this from the factory, but it didn't have a washer. Most of them were either cast that way. And I guess maybe some of them could have had washers staked in, but if I remember right, they were all cast whatever size they needed to be for the specific flow rate. You don't want to just open full-fledged blast into there because then you'd have to change the programming in the engine to be able to run right at all operating conditions. So in order to do that, you got to restrict this side down. And since this is a two-plane, not like, say, I don't know, a TBI 350, the flow rate's obviously going to be different. So this is the washer that somebody previous had put in there. The car did run pretty good. I'm going to assume it's this size. So we will find that same washer in this bag of 500. See, they get different orifices in them. Different washers. I'll get that out. And I'm going to have to stake it into there. Yeah, I don't see any marks on that like they even attempted to do it. So we'll go from there. Let me go grab a punch and a hammer. All right, that's staked in there. I wrote the OEM number on it because I said I didn't have the original, which is correct, I do not. But I do have this guy. So I just went through there, grabbed the original part number, which, of course, finding that page now will be next to impossible. But this gives you every single part number that GM had at the time, obviously, and then diagrams for everything. But it's the factory GM dealer parts illustrated catalog. So I grabbed the original part number, wrote it on there. It ain't coming off. There's a piece of clear sticker that they cover that they put on this, so it's supposed to protect it. So, but there's the original number. I found there's a chart that comes with it and a whole bunch of extra ones. I pulled the number off of that. And look at that. Now it's back in there with the correct orifice. So we can get this bad boy back on the car, where it belongs. Let's get back over here. And I want to make sure that we match. Don't put that on backwards. That ain't going to work. So put that guy right there. Look at that. It even fits. Isn't that crazy? Oh, see? See what I almost did there? That would have been disastrous. Might have caused a slight leakage. I don't think I want to use the original screws or nuts. I think I'm going to go find some stainless ones, which I don't think I have here. So let's go get some stainless. Where's the originals? Where did I stuff those guys? What is that, an 8x125 maybe? Of course, that is a load spreading nut with the washer built in. I don't know. Let's go look. Got nothing better to do. Walk around my garage, tripping over cars and parts and tools and stuff. So let's just go through the bolt collection, shall we? They even started marking it. Not that it's accurate anymore. Oh, do I have anything here that says I got lock washers, 8x125 nuts? Maybe that's not an 8x125. Because that sure looks bigger, doesn't it? No, maybe not. I have another one. Can I use stainless or do I want to use these load ones? I don't know. Let's find out. Let's grab a couple of them guys. Let's reach down in this pile and see if I can get my fat fingers to work. and pull out a couple of them stainless guys. We like the stainless guys. If the stainless guys works, I'm going to put some lock washers up under it and we'll be good to go. And I'm sure I'm going to drop these all over the floor at some point. God, it does look big though. I don't know, let's find out. What's worst that could happen? Doesn't work? Oh, look at that. 8x125, baby. Still would rather use brass, but hey, it is what it is. So either I use that or I use these guys. Which wouldn't need a washer, but they're not stainless either. Of course, the originals weren't either, and by the time these wear out, I don't even know where I got those. Maybe we'll just put those on there. Oh, and I'm just rambling over here. Stuff that don't mean nothing. Let's just put this guy on there. Let's see why this won't work. It's not like we can find another way at some point to get this off later if it ever has to happen again. Of course, by then, by the time it needs another one, hopefully, you know, won't have to worry about it. Yeah, okay. So I'll grab a big wrench. It does look better. All right, we'll lock that down. Get said vacuum line back up on there. Put the air intake back on it. Fire it off and see if it does its awesome thing again. If it does, I'll have to smoke test it again and see where else, because there has to be a vacuum leak somewhere. There's no reason for it to be running that lean. Unless fuel pressure is low, but the last time I checked it, it was not. It was steady at like 45, so I don't think it's that. The only other thing maybe is all 6 injectors, but the chances of that are next to none, so I'm not going to worry about injectors right now until I pull that bad boy off. So let's see if we can find any other issues first. Try to get everything else fixed first. Do I have a wrench over here? You know what? I just might. Let's see if it just happens to be the same hex size. Man, it's like these bolts or these nuts were meant for this. Still a little loose. Probably should drive that down just a little bit more. And no, you don't need to slather this thing in red RTV. I don't know how many cars I've seen that have red art. Oh yeah, look at that. See that? Fingers, isn't that nice? Slathered in red RTV. You don't need to do that. There's a reason why it wasn't there from the factory, so you don't need to do it either. These also don't need to be super cranked. I'm not getting a lot of throat on this, so that should be good. Now you can always rotate this too. The aftermarket valves, and I don't know if the original one did it or not, but you can always rotate this around clockwise if you need to change the orientation of said vacuum line. Yeah, that's good enough. Just gotta be snug. And of course this one was, you know, in the wrong place its whole time. I don't know if I can go all the way around with it. Oh yeah, look at that, I can. Let's see a little. All right. Nice and solid. Okay. Now, and that mess down there is the air intake hose. I cleaned it's got a K&N in it. I cleaned that last time, so I like to get this thing stripped. I may do that here coming soon too. Just strip both the intake and the air cleaner. Well, there it is back together. Let me throw the... Oh, wait. See? Almost jinxed myself. I still got this vacuum line here to plug back in. So we're going to plug this back in, because otherwise it's going to do the exact same thing, and I'm going to be chasing it around like a moron until I realized, oh yeah, dummy, you didn't put that back in. So let me plug that back in and get the air cleaner back on it. Okay, we're back inside. That's good that I got power. Battery charger worked. All right, let's see what happens. Better than it was. By now it would start doing that idle drop problem. Give it a second here though. No guarantee it's not going to do it now. smell it running super, super lean. So maybe that was it. I guess maybe it's time to get this thing out of the garage and take it for a ride and see how we're doing. Okay, let's take a break from the Fiero and see if we can get an O2 sensor in this bad boy, shall we? And then from that problem, I really should have recorded this too. So once again, we grabbed the mini-ductor, and if you've ever had an O2 sensor get stuck, and I'm sure some of you have dreaded this job, gonna be hard to see, but that guy, that little dude right down in there who's hiding, that is not gonna focus because, you know, why would it? Is a pain to get out, okay? Now, it's not because of where it's at in this car, because you can get a socket, an O2 sensor socket on it. Oh, right there. You can get a socket on it, but these things just do not want to come out. Now, this engine, God, I want to say it might have 10,000 miles on it since it was rebuilt years ago, back in the late 90s. The car's been sitting so long, though, that new O2 sensor that was new then said, ain't coming out. So, what we have to do here, grab me one of them guys, you know, a new one, but here's what's left of the old one. Now, it's cooled down. Now, I had to heat this thing till it was cherry red, and then put an O2 sensor socket with a 1/2-inch drive with an extension on it. And even then it fought me. But as soon as I got it to crack loose just a tiny bit, I soaked this thing down with blaster. And then you work it back and forth just a little bit at a time, and eventually you'll start to feel it get more and more loose, and you can get more turns out of it, and eventually it screwed right out. Of course, right as I was getting ready to take it out for the final time, it said, yeah, I think we're done, and it separated. But that's because I heated it so hot right here that it just couldn't take it. But the whole thing, I mean, it just shattered. I was getting intermittent loss of signal from that guy, so it was time to change it anyway. I mean, look, you can see how good condition the rest of it's in. There's really no rust on it. It's just been in there for so long. What was this? Oh, it's an old Bosch. But yeah, I mean, look, the wire's in good shape. Everything was in great shape. There wasn't a whole lot of miles on it. It's just, it had been in there long enough that the thread said, no way. You can see where it actually started to round. Because I used one of those typical O2 sensor sockets with the slot cut into it, and that's what started to round it. And then I've got another socket that has a full 360 here, and the hole is cut up higher on the socket, so you can feed the harness through it, and then it'll grab this all the way around 360, and that's what really helped me get it out. Well, that and heating it till it was cherry red. But there it is. That one's out. The new one's in. This car's needed it for quite some time. I keep getting a random loss of O2 sensor signal, so now that it's back in, I will put the air cleaner and everything back on it, and then that one will be done. What are we going to work on next? Who knows? Who knows? Been a lot of stuff going on around here lately. Hasn't been a whole lot of work getting done, but now that we got the vacuum leak on this fixed, I might start back on this. I did start doing some wiring on it. Built a full cross harness for the fog lamps, installed relays, and everything's weather pack connected, and I've got wiring diagrams drawn out and everything for it, so in case anything ever happens, someone will be able to fix it. But other than that, not much else going on today. I guess thanks for showing up for this one. I know there wasn't a whole lot going on, especially with pop it now that I've had this thing running for a little while now. Oh, open you back up. But yeah, now that that's back on there, that did seem to fix it. It starts every time now and runs just fine, so I'll keep driving it and see what happens. You can see I had to do an O2 sensor on this too a while back. That was fun. But there was just another new shiny part on this this almost 40-year-old engine. But hey, still runs great, doesn't burn oil. I'll just keep fixing things as they go. And then yeah, I'll do a full video on this because I do want to show this getting stripped and redone. I think I might do it with a high temp ceramic. That way I can do it here in the garage. Or, I mean, what you could do is you can strip these or send it off to a powder coater if they can powder coat the whole thing, and then they just grind that part off so that it's back to being what's supposed to be semi-polished or brushed aluminum kind of thing. But I think I'm just going to use paint. I'll strip the whole thing down and then hit it with a high temp ceramic. Basically the same color. I'll keep it red. Not a big fan of red, but that's what color it is, and yeah, I know the car's red. That one will not be. But yeah, that's where we're at with that. So appreciate it, guys. Thanks for showing up. Is there anything else you specifically want to see on these cars? Post it in the comments. Maybe we'll do a full video on whatever you guys want to see. right? Cool. Like, subscribe, comment, all that good stuff, and I'll talk to you guys later.